Imagine walking into your kitchen, opening the junk drawer, and pulling out a coin you've handled 100 times, only to discover it's worth nearly $1 million. Sounds like the opening scene of a Hollywood movie, right? Well, today, it could be your reality. Because in 1960, the U.S. Mint quietly released a Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin so rare and so coveted that in the current market, the right one can command up to $869,000. And here's the part that makes my palms sweat: thousands of these coins slipped unnoticed into circulation. Some of them may still be hiding in plain sight, in change jars, glove compartments, or even that old coffee can in your garage. Now, before we get too far, let's cut through one dangerous assumption. Most people hear old coin and think it's probably worth a couple bucks. That mindset has cost countless people life-changing money. I've seen stories of folks unknowingly spending rare quarters on vending machine sodas. Imagine handing away nearly $1 million for a can of cola. That's not just a loss, that's a gut punch. And here's the truth most don't know: the 1960 no mint mark Washington quarter isn't just rare, it's a once-in-a-generation find, the kind of thing that turns everyday people into overnight millionaires. The key is understanding what makes this coin different. Back in 1960, quarters minted in Philadelphia bore no mint mark, but the ones we're talking about aren't just Philadelphia quarters. This coin's value comes from a combination of pristine condition, historical mintage errors, and collector demand. The highest auction sales aren't from tarnished pocket change, they're from quarters graded at the very top levels, coins that look like they've been frozen in time. A single example in flawless condition recently fetched that jaw-dropping $869,000 figure. And while not every coin will reach that level, even lesser grades can sell for thousands. But here's where it gets thrilling, and a little unnerving. Because the people who end up selling these coins for life-changing sums, they're rarely the ones you'd expect. Retirees who found them while downsizing. A man cleaning out his late father's cigar box. A woman who spotted something off about the shine on a quarter in her tip jar. That means the opportunity isn't locked away in some distant vault, it could be sitting in your house right now. And yet, most people will miss it because they don't know what to look for. Which brings us to the million-dollar question: how do you know if you have one? First, the basics. Flip the coin over and check the date. If it reads 1960 and there's no small mint mark letter on the back beneath the eagle's tail feathers, you're in the right zone. Next, inspect the condition. This is where it gets intense. Even the tiniest scratch, fingerprint, or dulling can impact value. Professional grading services use microscopes and precision tools to determine whether a coin is mint state, proof, or something in between. A high mint state grade is where the magic, and the massive payouts, happen. And if you're thinking, but my coin looks fine to me, remember, fine to the naked eye and fine to a collector are two very different animals. This is where urgency comes in. The coin market is like the real estate market, timing is everything. Demand can spike and drop, but right now, the appetite for rare quarters is exploding. Every month that passes without checking your coins is another chance for someone else to scoop up that payday. And let's be honest, who do you want cashing in? You, or the next person who stumbles across it? I can hear the voice in the back of your head: okay, but what are the odds I actually have one? That's the same voice people had before they opened a dusty box and changed their family's financial future forever. The odds aren't zero. And here's something that might jolt you a bit: even the coins that don't hit the $1 million mark can still bring in enough for a luxury vacation, to wipe out debt, or even start a small business. You don't have to hit the jackpot to change your life, but there's a catch, and this is the part most YouTube videos won't tell you. Selling a rare coin isn't just about finding it. It's about protecting it, getting it authenticated, and presenting it to the right market. Take it to a pawn shop and you might get pennies on the dollar. Take it to the right auction house with the right marketing. That's where bidding wars begin, and that's how you see numbers like $869,000. The deeper we go, the more you realize this isn't just about a coin. It's about a mindset. Every valuable coin ever found was sitting in someone's possession before they knew its worth. The only difference between them and the person who let it slip away: awareness, action, urgency. Right now, you're holding the key to that awareness. The question is, what will you do with it? Here's my challenge to you: tonight, pull out every quarter you can find. Check the dates. Look for that missing mint mark. And if you find a 1960 with no mark, handle it like it's made of glass. Because in a way, it is. The right one can buy a house, send a child to college, or fund the retirement of your dreams. And if you don't check, well, someone else will. And here's the twist: even if you find nothing today, you've trained your eyes to see what others overlook. That skill, once sharpened, can spot other hidden treasures in the coin world. Because today it's the 1960 no mint mark quarter. Tomorrow, it could be an unassuming penny that turns out to be worth millions. But that's a story I'll save for next time. Until then, remember this: fortunes hide in plain sight, but only for those who know where to look, and have the courage to look now, not later. Yes, just 25 cents, and realizing it could put you on the path to a wealthy, stress-free life. Sounds far-fetched? That's exactly what happened to a lucky collector who recently discovered a 1961 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin now valued at an astonishing $858,000. And here's the part that should send a shiver down your spine: there could be more of these coins still out there, sitting unnoticed in change drawers, or old family boxes, quietly waiting to change someone's life. Before you dismiss this as just another coin story, let's get real. You and I both know the regret of missing out on something big: a stock we could have bought, a house we could have flipped, an opportunity we let slip because we thought it wasn't worth our time. Don't make that mistake with this. The market for rare coins is booming, and the 1961 no mint mark Washington quarter has become one of its most electrifying prizes. But time is a dangerous enemy here, because every year, coins like these are getting harder to find, disappearing into private collections forever. So why is this ordinary-looking coin commanding such an extraordinary price? To understand that, we need to travel back to 1961, a year when John F. Kennedy was president. Gasoline cost just 31 cents a gallon, and quarters were made of 90% silver. These coins had weight, shine, and a sense of permanence, a far cry from the lighter, copper-nickel versions we use today. The no-mint mark version was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but the real twist is that certain error strikes, perfect conditions, and historically low surviving numbers have turned this humble piece of change into a golden ticket for collectors. Here's where it gets thrilling. Imagine flipping over a handful of old quarters, casually checking the dates, when suddenly your eyes land on 1961, and there's no tiny letter under, "In God We Trust." Your pulse races. Could this be it? Could this be the one that pays off the mortgage, wipes out debt, and funds the dream home you've been quietly saving for? That's exactly the dream driving collectors, and it's why the competition to find these coins is cutthroat. Of course, it's not just any 1961 no mint mark quarter that commands a fortune. Condition is everything. A well-circulated example might fetch a modest sum, but a pristine, mint-state specimen, flawless, shimmering like the day it was struck, is the one that can soar into the hundreds of thousands. In fact, one such coin recently stunned the market when it sold for that jaw-dropping $858,000. That sale didn't just make headlines, it made believers out of skeptics. And if you're wondering whether that was a once-in-a-lifetime fluke, here's the kicker: demand is only growing. Now you might be thinking, alright, but what are the odds I actually have one of these? Let me flip that question. What's the cost of not checking? People throw away fortunes all the time because they assume the extraordinary only happens to other people. But I've seen firsthand how a single overlooked coin can transform someone's financial reality. I've met folks who paid for their kids' college tuition with a lucky find. Others have walked away with enough to retire early, all because they took a few minutes to look more closely. And here's a thought: what if you're not the one who finds it? What if the jar of coins your grandmother left behind gets sold in a garage sale for $5, and the buyer turns around and sells one coin for close to $1 million? That's not just a financial loss, that's a gut punch you'll feel for the rest of your life. Don't let that be your story. you might be wondering, how do I even know what to look for? It starts with the date, 1961, and the absence of a mint mark beneath the eagle's tail feathers. Then you'll want to look at the coin's condition, preferably under magnification. Sharp details, no scratches, and that original luster. That's the jackpot combination. But here's where it gets exciting: even if your coin isn't in perfect shape, certain variations and minting errors can still push its value into life-changing territory. Think double die strikes, off-center minting, and other anomalies that collectors go wild for. And while we're on the topic of collectors, you should know that the coin market is fiercely competitive right now. Investors are diversifying into tangible assets, and rare coins are becoming a hot commodity. Every day, more people are waking up to the fact that these little discs of metal can hold enormous wealth. That means fewer coins left in circulation, more competition at auctions, and higher prices when a rarity surfaces. If you have one of these quarters, the clock is ticking, not just on finding it, but on cashing in while the market is at its peak. Here's the cliffhanger I promised you earlier: there's an even rarer twist about the 1961 no mint mark quarter that could make yours worth far more than $858,000. But that, my friend, is a story for another time. Right now, the takeaway is simple: somewhere out there, a coin worth nearly $1 million could be sitting in your possession, invisible to the untrained, silently waiting to change your future. The question is, will you take action today, or will you let this chance slip into someone else's pocket? Because in the world of rare coins, fortune favors the finder, and the finder is always the one who looks. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, what if I told you that in 1962, the US Mint released a Washington quarter with no mint mark, and today, certain rare versions of that coin have sold for jaw-dropping amounts, some even approaching $1 million, with the current market record hitting an astounding $853,000. Yes, for a single 25-cent coin. Now here's the thing most people don't know: these coins don't scream "I'm rare" when you look at them. They're hiding in plain sight in coffee cans, old piggy banks, and tucked away in drawers passed down from parents and grandparents. And here's the scary part: every single day, people unknowingly spend them, drop them in vending machines, or cash them in for face value. Imagine handing over $1 million quarter for a soda. That's the fear that should make you check your change every time. But before we rush into how to spot one, let me take you back to 1962. America was in the midst of change, the space race was heating up, JFK was in the White House, and coins were still made with 90% silver. The Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark, struck millions of Washington quarters that year. Most are common, but some. They're unicorns in the coin world, with perfect condition, specific strikes, and subtle errors that make collectors' hearts race. The reason these few are worth a fortune isn't just rarity, it's demand. Serious collectors will pay almost anything to own the finest example of a coin, and the bidding wars can get intense. Now, don't zone out yet, because here's where it gets interesting. You might be thinking, okay, but what's the big deal about a missing mint mark? Didn't Philadelphia coins just not have one? Exactly, and that's what makes this hunt so tricky. You can't just glance at it and say, yep, jackpot. Instead, you've got to know the signs: immaculate surfaces, no wear on Washington's cheek and hair, razor-sharp details on the eagle's feathers, and often a shimmering proof-like luster that practically glows under light. Think of it like spotting a flawless diamond in a box of rhinestones. I'll let you in on a little collector's secret: most of the coins that reach astronomical prices have been graded and certified by professional services. And here's the kicker: once a coin gets that top MS-67 or MS-68 grade, its value can explode. That's when a 25-cent piece turns into a $500,000 asset. So yes, if you've got a 1962 no mint mark quarter, you might literally be holding an appreciating investment that could outpace the stock market. Now, before we jump into exactly what to look for in your own coins, let me pose a dangerous question. What if the most valuable coin you'll ever own is already sitting in your house, and you just haven't looked closely enough? That thought alone keeps treasure hunters awake at night. And if you think it's too late, remember, just last year, a pristine 1962 quarter sold for that record-breaking $853,000. That's not ancient history. That's now, but here's where urgency comes in. The market for rare coins can shift. The high prices we're seeing today are driven by intense collector competition, and while demand is strong, these opportunities don't last forever. If you wait too long, you might find yourself selling into a weaker market. That's why serious sellers act fast. They get their coins appraised, certified, and in front of the right buyers before the window closes. Still, you might wonder, what if you don't find one? That's the beauty of this hunt. Every time you check a coin, you're learning, you're getting sharper, and you're increasing your odds. And you never know when that one moment will come, the moment you pull a coin from a dusty jar and your hands start to shake because you realize you've hit the jackpot. So, in the next few minutes, we'll break down the exact steps to inspect your coin, the mistakes that could cost you hundreds of thousands, and the fastest way to connect with top-paying collectors. But let's keep one thing clear, you're not just looking for a coin. You're looking for freedom, for the power to turn pocket change into a life-changing windfall. And that, my friend, is worth every second of this journey, because somewhere out there, in a box you've forgotten about, a 1962 no-mint mark Washington quarter could be waiting. And when you find it, the story of your life might just have a very different ending than you ever imagined. Now, let's open that first box together and see what treasures are hiding inside. No mint mark. You toss it in your pocket without a second thought, maybe even consider feeding it to a vending machine. What if I told you that same coin could be worth more than your house, your car, and possibly your retirement fund combined, as much as $850,000 in today's market, with rare cases soaring toward the millions? The truth is, most people have no idea they're holding on to a piece of American history, and a ticket to life-changing wealth. And here's the thing, every day, coins just like this slip unnoticed through garage sales, coin jars, and old dresser drawers. Once they're gone forever. The opportunity to cash in on them doesn't last, because collectors, dealers, and investors are constantly on the hunt. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1963. America is standing on the edge of change, JFK is president, the space race is in full swing, and a gallon of gas costs 30 cents. The U.S. Mint is producing Washington quarters made of 90% silver, each stamped with a small mark to indicate where it was minted, except for some rare exceptions. And it's those no-mint mark 1963 quarters that hold the real magic. These aren't just coins, they're survivors of a bygone era, carrying both intrinsic silver value and an irresistible rarity that collectors crave. Now, I know what you might be thinking, okay, but surely my random quarter isn't worth a fortune. Maybe. But ask yourself, how many people threw away a winning lottery ticket because it didn't look special? This is where the story takes a sharp turn. Some of these 1963 no-mint mark quarters have sold for staggering sums because of their flawless condition, unique die errors, or provenance. Picture this, one coin in pristine condition, graded by a top-tier service, crossing the auction block and igniting a bidding war that climbs past $850,000. Yes, for a single quarter. And no, I'm not talking about a quarter dipped in gold, I'm talking about the same kind you might find in your change. But before you run to your coin jar, here's the kicker, the difference between a $5 coin and a six-figure coin can be microscopic. We're talking about subtle strikes, razor-sharp details, and absolutely no wear, the kind of perfection you almost need a jeweler's loupe to appreciate. And here's where fear comes in, if you don't know what you're looking for, you could hand over a fortune for 25 cents without even realizing it. Still with me? Good. Because now we get into the detective work. If you have a 1963 Washington quarter with no mint mark, meaning there's no tiny letter under the eagle's tail on the reverse, you could be holding Philadelphia's handiwork. Combine that with untouched luster, crisp edges, and no scratches, and you're entering the territory of serious money. And if you happen to spot a rare minting error, like a double die or off-center strike, your potential payday jumps even higher. Think about what that kind of money could do. Wipe out debts. Buy your dream home. Travel first class around the world. Fund your kids' or grandkids' education without blinking. The kind of freedom most people only dream about. And it could all start with a single coin in your hand right now, but here's the urgent part: the market for silver-era coins is heating up fast. Inflation fears, silver prices, and a new wave of wealthy collectors have driven prices higher than ever. Every year that passes, more of these rare quarters disappear into private collections, never to return to the open market. That means fewer chances for regular people to strike gold, or in this case, silver. Now, here's a little pattern interrupt. Ever think about how weird it is that we call them quarters when they're worth 25 cents, but they can also buy you a mansion if you've got the right one? That's like finding out your old flip phone is secretly worth more than a Ferrari. Ridiculous, but true. The key is knowledge. Without it, you're just another person handing life-changing wealth to someone else for pocket change. With it, you become the one who sees the opportunity others miss. Imagine standing in a coin shop, spotting a dusty little 1963 no-mint mark quarter priced at a couple of bucks, and knowing instantly it's worth hundreds of thousands. That's the power of being informed. So here's your cliffhanger: in a moment, I'm going to reveal the one factor that can instantly double or triple the value of a 1963 no-mint mark Washington quarter, even if it's not in perfect condition. Miss this, and you could be leaving hundreds of thousands on the table. But get it right, and that small disk of silver could rewrite your financial future in one bold move, because in the world of rare coins, the biggest fortunes don't always go to the biggest players. They go to the ones who spot the treasure before anyone else does. And right now, that could be you. The coins rattling at the bottom of your glove box could secretly be worth more than the home you live in. Now imagine finding out you've been spending one of them at the gas station for a pack of gum. That's not a fantasy. That's the shocking reality behind a rare U.S. coin, the 1964 no-mint mark Washington quarter, a single piece of metal that, under the right conditions, can fetch hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million at auction. And right now, the current market has seen one of these sell for a staggering $844,000. Yes, for 25 cents. Suddenly that loose change feels a lot heavier, doesn't it? Most people think the treasure hunt is reserved for gold prospectors or lottery winners. But what if I told you the wealth you're chasing could be sitting in your pocket, hidden in plain sight for decades? That's exactly the power this coin holds, and yet, most will never know it. This is where the story takes a turn. You see, in 1964, the United States Mint was in transition. Silver coins were on their way out, replaced by copper-nickel-clad versions. But that year's quarter, if struck in perfect condition, with certain extremely rare die varieties and no mint mark, became something extraordinary. Some slipped into circulation, unnoticed for years. And the very fact that they're ordinary looking makes them dangerous, because without knowledge, you could let one go for face value. Before we dive deeper, let me hit the brakes with a quick question: if you just got $800,000 handed to you right now, what would be the very first thing you'd do? Most people jump to buy a new car or pay off the mortgage, but let's be real, part of you is already picturing calling into work with 2 words: I quit. It's human. And that's the kind of life-changing potential hidden in this tiny coin. Now, here's where the fear sets in. Every single day, people unknowingly spend these rare coins at vending machines, bank counters, even yard sales. And once they're gone into the hands of someone who knows what they're holding, you'll never get them back. The clock is ticking, and with each passing year, pristine examples become rarer, pushing the value higher. Imagine missing the chance not just for a nice bonus, but for financial freedom. But we're not here just to scare you, we're here to arm you. Because if you know what to look for, your odds of finding one instantly improve. Here's what separates the $800,000 showpiece from the pocket change: the coin must be from 1964, no mint mark, struck in 90% silver, and in pristine, uncirculated condition, sometimes graded MS 68 or higher. Even subtle details like sharp lettering, mirror-like surfaces, and no visible wear can mean the difference between 25 cents and enough to buy a beach house. And yes, there are even rarer proof strikes and double die varieties worth fortunes. Think about this: a quarter is just 5.67 grams. That means every gram in one of these rare coins could be worth over $100,000. Talk about small but mighty. And yet, here's where I'll throw you a curveball: some of the most valuable coins were found not by professional collectors, but by regular people cleaning out old boxes or inheriting jars of change from grandparents. Which makes you wonder, whose change jar are you ignoring? Here's the cliffhanger: I'm about to tell you the exact kind of damage, toning, or imperfections that can still leave you with a six-figure payout, and it's not what you'd expect. Because most people think any scratch kills the value, but in rare cases, a unique imperfection can skyrocket it. Yes, flaws can be fortunes. And in less than a minute, you'll know why. Those special imperfections come from the minting process itself: die cracks, double strikes, and misalignments that occurred at the mint in 1964 can actually make the coin more desirable. A doubled Liberty or a faint ghost image can make collectors' hearts race, driving bidding wars at auction houses. The fear here: without training your eye, you might overlook them, toss the coin back into circulation, and someone else will cash in on your missed opportunity. Now, picture this: you're at an estate sale, sifting through old envelopes of coins, when you spot that crisp silver edge and a faintly mirrored surface. You hand over a couple of dollars for the lot, not realizing that you've just bought what could become your ticket to financial freedom. That moment, that possibility, is why treasure hunters wake up every morning with excitement. And it's why you can't afford to ignore the change you handle daily. So here's your action step: tonight, grab every quarter you have in the house. Check the date. Look for 1964. No mint mark beneath the eagle's tail or near the date. Examine it under bright light, look for mirror-like shine, razor-sharp edges, and any doubling in the letters. If your gut says it looks too perfect to have been rattling around in a drawer for 60 years, you might just have something extraordinary. And remember, the market doesn't wait. The most recent $844,000 sale happened because a collector knew exactly what they had and moved fast. Prices can spike overnight when collectors battle over a rare example. If you're sitting on one, hesitation could cost you hundreds of thousands. The truth is, wealth doesn't always come from grinding away at a job for decades. Sometimes it comes from knowing where to look, having the courage to act, and not letting the opportunity pass you by. That's not just coin collecting, that's life strategy. You started this video wondering if a quarter could really be worth a fortune. Now you know it can. The question is, will the next one show up in your hands, or will it slip quietly into someone else's pocket? The hunt begins now. Go find it. A quarter. Ordinary, or so you think. You toss it into your change jar without a second thought. But here's the reality check: that simple, no mint mark 1965 Washington quarter you just ignored could be worth more than the house you're living in right now. In fact, in today's market, one has sold for an astonishing $839,000. Yes. A single 25-cent coin. And some collectors value pristine examples at well over $1 million. Still think spare change is just pocket lint? Before we go further, let me warn you, millions of these coins are out there. But only a tiny fraction hold the kind of secrets that can rewrite your financial future. If you've got one, time isn't your friend. Every day you wait, the condition could degrade, demand could spike or drop, and the chance to cash in could vanish forever. Imagine knowing you had an opportunity to change your life, and watching it slip away because you didn't bother to look closely enough. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a quarter from 1965 be worth that kind of money? Here's the twist: 1965 was a turning point in U.S. coinage history. It was the year America said goodbye to silver quarters and shifted to a copper-nickel-clad composition. But during that chaotic transition, errors happened. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets meant for 1964 coins. Others have unique striking flaws or perfect uncirculated conditions that make collectors go weak at the knees. Think of it like this: most quarters are paperbacks. These rare ones, first edition hardcovers, signed by the author, wrapped in gold, and here's where it gets exciting, or terrifying, depending on your perspective. Because these rarities hide in plain sight. They're jingling around in vending machines, hiding in coffee shop tip jars, buried in grandma's old purse. Every one you miss is potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars lost to someone else's pocket. The difference between wealth and regret could be a flashlight and a few minutes of your time. Speaking of time, have you checked your coin jar yet? Or are you going to wait until the neighbor finds theirs and suddenly has a yacht? But here's the part no one tells you: condition is everything. A circulated silver transitional error might fetch a few thousand, but a pristine, untouched example graded by a top-tier service like PCGS can shatter records. One near-perfect 1965 no-mint mark quarter recently sold for that mind-blowing $839,000. And that's before private sales, where serious collectors sometimes pay even more just to own a trophy coin no one else has. If you think auctions are where the big money is, imagine what happens behind closed doors in the private world of high-end coin dealers. Now, maybe you're starting to feel a little anxious. You should. Because these coins are out there right now, quietly being traded, and every day that passes is another day someone else's bank account gets fatter instead of yours. The good news? The hunt is incredibly simple. Step 1, gather every quarter from the 1960s you can find. Step 2, check for that 1965 date and absence of a mint mark under the year. Step 3, weigh it. If it comes in at about 6.25 grams instead of the modern 5.67, you might just have a silver planchet error. And step 4. Protect it, don't clean it, and get it graded immediately. But here's a little mind bender before we wrap this up. What if, in your lifetime, you've already held one of these coins? Maybe you spent it on a cup of coffee years ago. Maybe it passed through your hands without you realizing the fortune you'd just given away. That thought alone should make you look at every coin differently from this moment on. Because the people who find these treasures aren't the lucky ones, they're the ones who pay attention. So here's your choice. You can walk away from this video, toss your change back into a jar, and hope for the best, or you can act now, knowing that somewhere in your home, maybe in your pocket right now, could be the key to a financial future most people only dream about. The kind of future where debt is a memory, your dream home is reality, and work becomes optional. But remember, the window doesn't stay open forever. Those coins are disappearing into private collections with every passing day, and I'll leave you with this: somewhere, someone is watching this very same message, walking over to their dresser, picking up an old coin, and realizing their life just changed. The only question is, will that someone be you?